In this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 strategies for New World. Understand that these are not necessarily tips or ways to hack the game, but instead strategies that you can adopt if you choose, which will, or at least should, increase your overall enjoyment of the game. If you are a returning player and you have strategies of your own that I didn't mention, put them down below in the comments. Let's get a conversation going and try to pass on some knowledge to other players. The first strategy I have is to get an understanding now of how you want to play the game. I have a few videos out, and there are plenty of other resources you can find on the internet that go over all the different weapons, trade skills, and things you can do in the game. Then once you have that idea, start the game and select your archetype off the trade skills that interest you, not the weapons. This has been a pretty contentious point in my comments lately, and I understand fully why Amazon made this change to the game. Classes are easy to understand, and it introduces people to the game easier when they get handed a weapon instead of choosing between a dozen different weapons. Analysis paralysis. I get that. But here is what you need to understand about this decision. Your weapons are not a commitment. Your gear is not a commitment. Even choosing a trade skill that you play with is not a commitment. You can use any weapon, any gear, and you can pursue any trade skill you want in this game. Unfortunately, what you cannot do is go back and re-choose the 3 trade skills that you select at the beginning of the game when you build a character. Those skills will be boosted to 50, and that's it. You can change your weapon, you can change your armor, you can change everything else except for those 3 skills. Now, as it currently stands, years after release, if I want to boost one of my crafting trade skills to 50, it would take about 500 gold pieces. Not much. And I could buy all the resources to get me there. In the early stages of the game, though, it won't be that way. So just remember that. It's also not so much about the crafting skill, but it's really about the gathering skill. That is something that even in the current state of the game, years after release, I can't buy my way to. While people are running past gold nodes, you'll be able to stop and get them. Additionally, in order to get your mining skill to level 50, is going to take you about 75 nodes. Somebody starting at level 50 is 75 nodes worth of experience ahead of the other person. And that is not something that you can buy your way into. You will have to find those nodes, which will take hours and hours to do, especially considering the fact that other people will be trying to do the same thing as well. Now, this logic also applies for harvesting and logging. Skinning, I wouldn't say is as big of a deal. As you progress through the game and kill animals, you'll be skinning them. And for the most part, the animals you kill will progress with you. You shouldn't really be at a point where you can't skin an animal that you just killed, as long as you're doing it as you play. Logging, harvesting, and mining is a little bit different, with maybe logging being the outlier there, in that harvesting and mining, you will find nodes in the beginning area that are at a level that you're not able to do. Logging, not so much, because trees are specific to regions, and as you progress through the game, as long as you're logging along the way, you should be able to keep up. So keep this in mind as you begin the game. Choose the archetype based on the skill trades that you want to start with, not the weapons. My second strategy would be to not rush through the main quest. I know you may be itching to get to the end game and experience everything that this game has to offer, but I would urge you against it. Anyone who's played the original PC launch would tell you that my reason for this is because the end game is empty or dead. Fortunately for us, that has changed. I am not saying this because the end game is dead. I experienced the PC launch and it was dead, but now they have added a substantial amount of stuff to do in the end game. Running excursions, solo trials, the new 10-man raid that's going to be coming out, exploring the free-for-all PvP zone in Cutlass Keys, working on your perfect build, and there's many other things that will occupy your time for the end game. But whatever you do, don't rush to get there. The story of New World is not terrible. It's definitely not the best that I've experienced, but it's not awful. And the level experience is actually pretty fun. Enjoy it. Take some time and craft and harvest along the way, and enjoy it. Stop to play a song or go fishing from time to time. You'll find that your enjoyment of the game is a lot more when you take time and enjoy the small things instead of stressing over hitting the end game. My next tip would be not to be afraid to play solo if joining a guild stresses you out. Having said that, if you're on the fence, push yourself to join a guild and participate. New World is fun as a solo player, but is infinitely more fun in a group. Some of the most fun I've had in this game has been in the massive aspect of MMO. Running PvP faction quests with a dozen of my clan members, taking over the local fort, and eventually sending the whole region into a battle was so much fun. Attending that battle a few days later to overthrow the current faction and take the region as our own was even better. Getting on every night to run through Merkgard as a 50-man mob for in-game chests was a blast. And of course, coming together with a small group of friends to run through excavations was so much fun. Multiplayer will enhance your experience infinitely. But if the idea of joining groups or guilds doesn't sound like fun, and it is standing in the way of you trying this game, don't let it do that. PvP and talking to other people is almost entirely optional. The only time you may have to interact with someone is if you want to run an excavation. Outside of that, the entire campaign can be completed solo. The fourth strategy I would employ is to choose upgrades with a in-game mentality. The main thing that I think of initially here is territory ranks. When you do a certain number of things in a region, you will level up that region and be given up to 3 different perks. As an example, you may be given the option to increase your storage capacity, decrease the cost of trade taxes, or increased experience gain while completing tasks in that region. Decreasing your costs of trade or increasing your storage capacity are always great choices, even for long-term gameplay. My one piece of advice here would be to not select the experience gain. I know at first it may be tempting, but you will find that you reach max level pretty quick in this game, and once that happens, that is a useless perk to you. All of the hundreds of hours you will put into the game after that will not benefit from that selection. Meanwhile, having more storage or paying less in taxes when you craft will pay back dividends your whole time in the game. Before I give my last strategy, if you felt I gave you some good advice so far, I would greatly appreciate if you gave this video a like. It really helps me know that I'm putting out good information for you guys. And the fifth strategy would be to understand that this game has a player economy. There are no vendors to sell your gear and resources to, like in other MMOs. You earn gold from a lot of different methods in this game, from things as simple as killing enemies, harvesting resources, and completing quests, all the way up to PvP and PvE in-game activities. This player economy does not mean you have to participate in trade. You could play the entire game without ever buying a single thing from the store. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do it. Having said that, I would advise against hoarding your gold. Use it to buy raw resources and refine them down to make better stuff and sell that equipment. Or use it for yourself. Use it to buy better gear that slightly increases your strength or effectiveness, or if you need that one final piece to finish a build, buy it from the store. Holding on to your gold won't benefit you in the long run unless you are doing it strategically to save up for an expensive item or to buy a home. Participate in the economy and you will find that gold will flow easily in and out of your hands. Hoard it and be particular about every penny that goes out, and you will spend a lot of your time in the game stressing over not having any gold or obtaining more. You will also lose your mind when you see some of the best in slot gear going for tens of thousands of gold. These are strategies that I believe will help you have more fun with New World. It will increase your overall joy while playing the game, and I believe going in with this mindset will start you off the best. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like my top tips or mistakes to avoid when starting New World.